Today, we're taking a grand tour of the globe, specifically focusing on Unit 27, Countries and Nationalities.
But before we get lost in giant lists of words, we really need to ground our vocabulary right here in physical space. When we talk about geography in English, we aren't just memorizing definitions from a textbook. We are literally mapping out our planet. Every single time you learn a new country, nationality, or capital, you're adding another pin to your own mental globe.
So, I've got to ask, how well do you actually know your world? I'm going to playfully challenge you today to test your geographic knowledge as we go. Think of this as a trivia game where the grand prize is total confidence in your English vocabulary. I'll throw some questions your way, and let's see how many you can get right before I reveal the answers. Sound good? Let's get our boots on the ground.
All right, Section 1, Continents and Famous Landmarks. Let's start big.
When we talk about continents in English, we are looking at massive, sprawling regions. Based on our source material, we categorize these major areas as North America, South America, Europe, Asia, Africa, Antarctica, and Australasia. Memorizing these, that's your foundational step. Everything else, every country, every city, every river, sits right on top of these giant puzzle pieces.
Okay, time for round one of our trivia. Let's match some iconic landmarks to their home continents. Take Mount Everest, the absolute highest peak on Earth. That's located in Asia. What about the Amazon, the world's most famous rainforest and river system? If you guessed South America, you nailed it. And the massive expanse of the Sahara Desert, that proudly belongs to Africa. Let's keep the facts coming. Have you ever heard of Wagga Wagga? I just love saying that name. It's a fantastic city located in Australia. What about the Volga? That happens to be the longest river in Europe. And finally, the stunning Mount Kilimanjaro, just soaring into the sky. That, exactly like the Sahara, is found in Africa. See how quickly we can crisscross the globe just by knowing our nouns?
Moving right along to Section 2, Exploring Countries and Capitals.
All right, I'm throwing a curveball at you here to keep you on your toes. A lot of people just assume that the most famous city in a country is automatically its capital, right? So naturally, folks often think the capital of Australia is Sydney, but it is not Sydney. Do you know what it actually is?
It's Canberra. It was specifically chosen as the capital as a compromise between the rival cities of Sydney and Melbourne. It's just a great reminder that vocabulary often comes with a little hidden history lesson attached.
Okay, let's test your South American geography this time, specifically focusing on Colombia. We know it's in South America, but what is its bustling center of government?
That would be Bogota. And honestly, the list goes on. There are these famous pairings you really should lock into your memory, like Tokyo being the capital of Japan, Cairo for Egypt, Rome for Italy, and Madrid for Spain. Memorizing them as pairs, country and capital, is just an incredibly efficient way to study.
Now for Section 3, Naming the Nationalities. So we've covered the places. Now let's talk about the people. How do we actually turn a country into an adjective that describes its people? Well, before we look at the words themselves, there is a crucial grammatical pitfall we have to watch out for. All continents, countries, and nationalities always begin with a capital letter. This is a non-negotiable rule in written English. It is always a capital A for Africa, never a lowercase a. Whether you are writing Spain, Spanish, Japan, or Japanese, you got to keep that shift key held down for the first letter. Now, finding patterns makes learning this a whole lot easier. The vast majority of country adjectives in English end in the letters IAN or simply AN. So Brazil becomes Brazilian, Egypt becomes Egyptian, Australia gives us Australian, and Canada gives us Canadian. You've also got Moroccan, Peruvian, and German. When you're in doubt, this suffix is usually your best guess.
But hey, English loves variety, so of course we have two other major suffix groups you need to recognize to complete the pattern. The first is the ish group. Britain becomes British, Spain becomes Spanish, and Poland becomes Polish. Then we have the ease group. This is where China becomes Chinese, Japan becomes Japanese, and Portugal becomes Portuguese. Grouping words like this in your mind, it just makes them so much easier to retrieve when you're actually having a conversation.
Of course, it wouldn't be the English language without a few rebels. We have our rule followers nicely organized with their suffixes, but then we have these completely unique nationalities that just do not fit the standard mold at all. A person from Thailand is Thai, a person from France is French, a person from Pakistan is Pakistani. For these exceptions, honestly, there's no magic trick. You just have to give them a little extra attention and memorize them as they are.
And that brings us to Section 4, Languages Around the World.
We've got the places, we have the people, and now we need to tackle the languages spoken by all these diverse nationalities. How do they actually communicate? Well, here's a super helpful tip from our source. Words for languages are often exactly the same as the nationality adjective. So, people in Spain are Spanish, and they speak Spanish. People in Japan are Japanese, and they speak Japanese. Simple, right? But you have to watch out for the historical exceptions. People in Brazil are Brazilian, but the language they speak is Portuguese because of their history with Portugal. Remember, there is no language called Brazilian.
And here is another fascinating disconnect. People in Egypt are Egyptian. People in Morocco are Moroccan. But the language they speak is not Egyptian or Moroccan. They speak Arabic. The same goes for Saudi Arabia. Knowing these distinctions is a real game changer. It prevents common communication errors, and honestly, it just shows a much deeper respect and understanding of the world.
Wow, we have covered a lot of ground today, from massive continents to capitals, from suffixes to spoken languages. Mastering this vocabulary doesn't just help you pass an English test, it literally connects you to the entire world. It takes foreign, distant places and turns them into familiar concepts. So I'll leave you with this final inspiring thought. As a global citizen armed with all this new vocabulary, where will your language learning take you next? The whole world is out there, just waiting for you to talk about it. Thanks for joining me on this explainer, and keep exploring.